And there it is. Avatar The Last Airbender live-action Netflix show. The running theme I've had this week covering every movie news that seems to pop up is these things always just appear out of nowhere and I'm always taken by surprise. Literally the last one, Inside Out, I saw while I was on the toilet. But this announcement I 100% knew was happening since Netflix actually did some marketing and told us that they were going to release a trailer today. Typical that they waited until 10 o'clock at night to actually show us if you're in the UK, but here it is. And it looks good. It looks brilliant. It looks exactly like you would imagine a live-action Avatar The Last Airbender TV series to look. It's not The Last Airbender movie. They've made some changes and choices, not abominable ones, and it looks pretty good. Now, interestingly, Netflix rolled out this announcement via their Nintendo Direct, I guess, called Geeked Week, all shown as a premiering kind of stream, and it was kind of interesting. In some ways, they made some great marketing decisions, like having an interactive game with YouTube comments to incite people to, comment on streams on YouTube, but that's maybe the background businessy YouTuber brain of mine going on. But then at other times, the whole thing was hosted by these four chaps that are just the same person 4 times over. But after sitting through a lot of schmuck, and I mean, that was a lot of schmuck we saw. Oh my god. Finally, we get to see the actual visuals of this show, and understandably, it looks gorgeous. Developments in the ability for live-action CGI have made massive strides since 2010, and certainly since 2005, and Netflix actually helming the series and knowing all the pitfalls of the past, of course, we're not going to make mistakes with the visual effects. No longer do we have 16 guards flinging a handful of rocky pebbles. What little bending we do see in the trailer looks phenomenal.
The past.
Appa looks phenomenal and in-universe in a way that really makes them work in the whole visual. To be fair, they worked in The Last Airbender 2010 movie too, but whatever. Momo's had a bit of a redesign compared to that old movie and looks brilliant. And then the casting is fantastic as well. Gordon Cormier as Aang just absolutely nails the part visually. He looks like a nice, chipper young kid. He looks a little bit weird when he's smiling at Momo, if you ask me, but otherwise perfectly fits the part. You've also got Kia Wentillo as Katara, who again looks brilliant, has their moments. There's not a lot of dialogue really in this trailer. It's much more just sort of the narrator effect of just like philosophical lines ablazed over the top. But I'm expecting some high hopes out of the dialogue there. Though to be fair, also, this is just a redo. This is an adaptation of a TV series we already have, so it should be easy to follow the same sort of formula. And understandably, season 1 of the Netflix series is to cover all the plot details of season 1 of the TV show. Basically, it has the exact same prompt as that god-awful 2010 movie, but a whole lot more runtime and a lot of noticeable changes off from that movie. On top of seeing Ian Owsley as Sokka and Dallas Liu as Zuko, we also see a good grouping of characters from the Kyoshi episode. I think literally episode 3 or 4. This is an element integral to the plot of Avatar The Last Airbender, right? These guys are very much intertwined with the group, they come back later, one of them's incredibly important, and also it connects to the lore of the past Avatar, and you can't really cut them out like they did in the 2010 movie, so the fact that they're there is obviously a massive plus. That is a horrible decision they made back in 2010, and it's a pitfall Netflix hasn't fallen down. Great. Good. We could also see Daniel Dai Kim as Lord Ozai, which technically is a little different from the TV series in the animated forms, since we don't actually see the Fire Lord's face for a good long time. But maybe you don't need that kind of tension when you know he exists. You've already been kind of revealed to him in another format, and he's just a dude. It's a mild creative choice that, is different, but fine. This Netflix version is going a little bit off-kilter to the animated series, while obviously very clearly following the same skeletal tracks. Obviously, you've got Paul Sung-hyung as Uncle Iroh, who looks lovely, brilliantly hits the part, and Ken Leung as Commander Zhao, but also we see Elizabeth Yu as Princess Azula.
The future.
Now, something that's a little bit of a red flag to this Netflix series is the fact that this doesn't actually have the full blessings of the original creators of the animated series, Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko. As though they were part of the production during the early years, they ended up quitting the show in 2020. Now, the reasons behind this are a little bit unknown, or at least the specifics are, but generally the vibe seems to be that there was a clash of creative differences between Netflix and the original creators. creators. And from what can kind of be passed, it sounded like the creators wanted to stick far more to the standard formula of the original animated show, since, you know, it's kind of one of the best TV shows of all time. Like, it's literally my top 3. It's number 2 for me personally. Whereas Netflix maybe wanted to try and flesh out things and go in slightly different directions while not really changing the entire timeline. One such example of that makes its clear case in the teaser trailer, as Princess Azula does not appear in season 1 of the animated series. They are bringing in the character early. Where do they intermix in? How does it not conflict with the Zuko part in the season 1? We'll have to see as it goes. At the very least, we haven't seen Toph, so they haven't full-on liquidated season 2 backwards into season 1. But Azula doesn't exist alone. They don't exist in a bubble in the animated series. They have their own little evil gang of benders and non-benders. Actually, none of them bend. Oh, interesting. And from looking into the full cast list that's revealed so far with the Netflix series, we do also have those other characters, with Momona Tamada as Ty Lee and Talia Tran as Mai. Both of them and Azula are somehow being introduced earlier. It could simply just be through early flashbacks with no, she's fully aged here. It's an interesting, notable direction change that is the most clear example out of this entire teaser trailer. By the way, thank you for making it halfway through this video. This is the quick cheeky plug to remind you to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going through a thing right now of trying to keep up with all movie news and updates. Literally earlier today, we had the Inside Out 2 trailer, which I've already tried to dissect, tell details of, and share my opinions on how it could be actually pretty decent. So if you'd like to be up to date on more movie news, come join along, or let me know of other movie news if I haven't started talking about it yet, via our Discord server, where you can give suggestions of all kinds. Movie news, cancelled stuff, terrible videos. I do all sorts of things on this channel, so once again, subscribe if you haven't already. After all, statistically, you probably aren't subscribed right now. Anyway, back to ATLA. Or is this ATLA? Netflix Avatar The Last Airbender live action. Natlala. Lovely. Meanwhile, on other side of things, like Zuko scarring, wow, pretty good, pretty decent. I'm pretty happy with that. It's a good scar. When the 2010 live action movie is kind of like your bar of standards, this series just looks phenomenal in comparison. It's both big and noticeable, whilst also kind of blends in with the skin, kind of like a very long scar. And they're not exactly going to get his eye to wince the entire time, so we'll allow it. I do love that you can see the actual visuals of even the air temples being invaded by the Fire Nation, which is something we didn't really see too much depicted in the animated series, and would be a great dramatic action scene to start the entire season. I can see all the pieces coming together, you know? Aang looks a little bit weird in his Superman flying in, but I mean, that is probably pretty accurate. It just looks weird with the cutoff to me. Don't give me a 30-second section with no bending and just the motions. It's too slow and boring. We know this, right? And with the super success of the One Piece anime series from Netflix, you can tell that there's going to be some brilliant set design and some good cinematography. We already get a little bit with Sokka and Suki in the Kyoshi Warrior Hut window. Doesn't have to go too hard, but it'll be appreciated nonetheless. Honestly, the only part of this teaser that really gives me 2010 vibes is the original iceberg. I think it's just because the CGI was pretty on point with its landscapes, and this just looks identical to me. But that's an unfortunate stain that the Avatar series is just gonna always have to deal with. That and being compared to the other Avatar for having the same name. Now, though there is plenty to catch our eye, there is also all sorts of other details that we know beyond this trailer. Similar to the existence of Azula's other gremlins, we also know the casting for later characters such as Amber Mid-Thunder as Princess Yue. Mid-Thunder is her surname? That's incredible. Lim K-Sui as Monk Gyatso, Utkarsh Ambudkar as King Boomy, and James C. as Cabbage Man. I'm so glad that they got a specific casting choice and had to let us know. Good to know that the best joke in the whole series is coming back. Now give me the guy that foams at the mouth. I want to see a really good, you know, beautiful. We also have Arden Cho as June, Danny Pudi as the Mechanist, and George Takei, of all people, as the predatory ancient spirit Ko. Oh, that's the face-stealing spirit from the animated series. Absolutely horrifying. Technically in the 2010 movie, but he was just a different spirit. Either way, George Takei, glad he's involved. And very obvious point here, The Last Airbender 2010 movie was so wrong for its choices in the casting and just completely misrepresenting the races that are very clearly attached to the characters in the animated series, and this movie hasn't done that, which is great. Now, this series is to begin February 22nd, 2024, and contains 8 episodes. It's very quick in that regard, but I guess if they're each 50 minutes to an hour long, it would fit quite nicely. There are similarly 8 episodes to One Piece, and that felt like plenty. Being announced back in 2018, to finally see it come to visual fruition 5 years later after all sorts of delays and mishaps, it's nice to finally see it on the other side, and it looks good. I'm a little concerned with the original creators element. Azula could ruin everything, you never know. But I'll be watching with eager eyes one way or another. And in addition to this series, last year it was also announced that there would be 3 spin-off Avatar films from the show's original creators. There's now an Avatar Studios, so they're just going mad, realizing that they messed up by mistreating it back in the early days. Where Paramount Animation and Nickelodeon will be releasing this trio of films, with Lauren Montgomery attached to direct the first installment, whilst the main creators are also involved in the project as producers. So we ain't running out of Avatar content anytime soon, starting now. Other news we have on the more crew side of the development is that the series is executively produced by showrunner Albert Kim, along with Michael Goy, Dan Lin, and Lindsay Livatore. For directors, we have 4, depending on the episode I guess, which is Goy, Jabbar Raysani, Jet Wilkinson, and Roseanne Liang, who is also another co-executive producer. Now I know we mentioned Avatar Studios briefly before, but actually this Netflix show is unaffiliated with that. Likely because the original creators left and they are that studio. It's interesting, and I guess it's a whole whirlwind of legalities and rights, but that's another thing. In fact, actually, showrunner Albert Kim also came out with a statement regarding the adaptation earlier on when talking about how they are adapting from the animated series, going on to say, a live-action version can not only faithfully translate what has been done in animation, it can bring a rich, new visual dimension to a fantastic world. We'll be able to see bending in a real and visceral way we've never seen before. Which, you know, fair enough, it's marketing. Again, being done under the Paramount wing, and the very first of the other Avatar animated movies will be coming to theaters supposedly in 2025 under the Paramount wing. Now, this show has some big boots to fill. I think a lot of people would garner to say that the original animated series is some of the best television of all time, being massively popular. Being so critically acclaimed, the franchise has spawned its own sequel series, comic books, novels, live action film in 2010. They really went everywhere. And now they've got their whole new dedicated studio based on making more stuff. Being praised for all sorts of things, from the very rich and complex characters, great political messaging, especially when translated for a kids show. It works really well. A brilliant magic system and a nice open, rich world-building world with good elements and integrations with that magic system. Quality animation to a certain extent, certainly a lot of details when you really look at the choreography of the fighting. That's something I really want to see if they nail in this adaptation. And also some pretty interesting, eclectic music on the side. The opening and ending theme is obviously the ones that stand out the most. I've got the soundtrack of the Avatar series. It's a bit weird in the middle, very situational, but you know, good in its own way. And so with such big boots to fill, this series can make a lot of bad pitfalls. And the pitfalls that Avatar has had have been incredibly deep pitfalls. But based on the success of the One Piece anime adaptation in live action, maybe Netflix has worked out just what to do. Whether it's full-on flight or full-on flop, I'm definitely going to be watching this February. That's pretty soon as well, that's great. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this, because I'm making this opinion piece right out in the dark. I mean, I just watched the trailer, it just released, it's not even been out an hour yet, I'm just high on the grind. And also with me trying to update with every big relevant movie news, I'm needing to be very much in the know, and I'm doing decently. As I said earlier, I went through a lot of Geeked Week schmuck, but in the meantime, I learned a lot of new things exist. Arcane, Ultraman, lots of games on Netflix, which is not what I expected, as well as a new DreamWorks movie with Orion in the Dark, which is very interesting. But also, as a call out, I'd like to request from you, if you hear any movie news that you'd really like me to talk about, let me know on Discord. It would be incredibly helpful if, instead of me constantly refreshing the Netflix YouTube channel to see when the damn trailer releases, I just get someone to pop up on my Discord and say, hey, this is out, here's some news. That would be brilliant. So if you're really invested, give it a look. Or give us any suggestions for all the other series we do. There's a lot of minis at the moment just because it's movie news November, apparently. But yes, that's all from me. I'll end it off here. My name's been Daz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit.